Warning! This video contains frank discussion of matters of sexual morality. Just thought you might want to know. Hey, welcome back to Clean Cut, where we can talk about the truth about just about anything, as long as we use logic and common sense. This season, we're addressing the parts of the old law which remain valid and grave today, the 10 Commandments. So far, we've talked about the first 5 commandments, and now it's time to tackle the 6th, thou shalt not commit adultery. This time, adultery itself. What is it? Again, I'll be referring to the definition put forth in the Catechism. Adultery refers to marital infidelity, when two partners, of whom at least one is married to another party, have sexual relations, even transient ones, they commit adultery. Christ condemns even adultery of mere desire. Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 2380, first 3 sentences. This definition basically says it all. If you're married and you have sex with someone who's not your spouse, that's adultery. Fairly simple, really. Still, the definition also says 2 things which I think it's worth clarifying further. 1. First, it says that even transient sexual relations are adultery in this context. This word isn't used often these days. In fact, I wasn't even sure what was meant by it when I first read this document. It means temporary or short-term. What this is trying to say is that even very brief, limited, or even one-time sexual affairs with others, if you're married, are considered adultery. If you're not married, it's fornication, but that's another subject entirely. 2. Secondly, it says that Christ condemns even adultery of mere desire. Since we know that desires by themselves are never sinful, what is meant here by adultery of desire? Well, let's look at the Bible passage that this refers to and see what we can glean from it. But I say to you, that whosoever shall look on a woman to lust after her, hath already committed adultery with her in his heart. Matthew 5:28. Jesus does seem to be implying a sort of lust committed purely through one's thoughts, but he's also referring to a decision, the decision to look lustfully at someone. We know this because the definition of lust implies 3 things. A desire for a lesser good of sex over a greater one, sex or sex-based motives being involved, and some action, word, or thought. Actions, words, and even thoughts can sometimes be involuntary, but each can be a voluntary action as well. For example, you can will yourself to think about ponies, and then do so. Likewise, you can will yourself to think impure sexual thoughts, and then do so, and this would be considered lust, and therefore a sin. However, if you happen to think some sexual thought by accident, that's not a sin, because it's not an act of the will. So we arrive at the conclusion that when the Catechism says adultery of desire, what it means is intentionally fostered desires which conform to the definition of lust. Therefore, adultery is infidelity to one's spouse, even on a momentary or short-term basis, and even if the extent of that infidelity is merely some intentional thought of an impure sexual nature. It's easy to prove that adultery of this sort is also lustful, but given the fact that committing adultery is clearly against the commandment to not commit adultery, I don't think it's necessary to explore the subject in too much detail. In summary, though, adultery fulfills the 3 criteria for being a lustful action. It acts against union with one's spouse, one of the primary goods of sex, in favor of other concerns, usually emotional ones, therefore fulfilling criteria 1. It involves sex, fulfilling criteria 2. It's an action, word, or thought, fulfilling criteria 3. That's that. Next time, divorce. What does it mean? And is it against the 6th commandment? That's all for now, so keep asking questions, and thanks for watching.